Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take a stack of information and really try to pull out the nuggets that make you instantly well-informed. Today, we're plunging into something that, well, it touches pretty much every part of our lives, often without us even realizing it. Sugar. It really is a kind of sweet paradox, isn't it?
It absolutely is.
I mean, historically, for millennia, sugar was this incredibly rare treasure,
Right. Hard to come by.
Yeah, you'd find it in a ripe piece of fruit, maybe some honey or sugarcane sap. It was a real luxury, special occasions only.
A special treat.
But fast forward to today, and wow, sugar is absolutely ubiquitous. It's just everywhere,
Totally.
swirling through your soft drinks, obviously, but it's also hiding in things we think are healthy, maybe, like granola bars.
Oh, definitely. Yogurt, too.
Great. Pastries, obviously, but even ketchup, salad dressings. Things you wouldn't expect.
It slips in everywhere.
And we use it for celebrations. We crave it when we're tired or stressed. I mean, our brains are actually hardwired for that reward signal, aren't they?
They really are. That dopamine hit is powerful.
Yeah. So while sugar is definitely essential, in the right amounts, it can also quietly, insidiously harm the body when we eat too much, or crucially, at the wrong times. So our mission today is really to give you the modern tools and knowledge, move beyond just being scared of sugar, and figure out how to make it work for you, not against you.
And that's exactly the heart of our deep dive today. What's so fascinating here is really getting to grips with this dual nature of sugar.
Right, the two sides of the coin.
Exactly. On one hand, it's absolutely necessary for life. Your body just cannot function without it, period. Essential fuel. But on the other hand, in excess, it can be incredibly dangerous. So we're going to pull back the curtain on that double roll. And the really good news is, thanks to modern science, we actually have incredible tools now. Things like continuous glucose monitors.
Plus CGMs, yeah.
That let us see in real time exactly how sugar behaves in your unique body, which is amazing.
Game changer.
Totally. So this deep dive, it's designed to be your comprehensive guide. We want to move beyond just fearing sugar to really understanding it and ultimately mastering it. It's all about learning how to manage it for better health, more sustained energy, and ultimately, hopefully, a longer, healthier life for you.
Okay, so when we talk about sugar, it's rarely just that simple, is it? That one word. It covers a lot.
Oh, yeah. It's a whole family.
It's a whole family of carbohydrates, and each one has its own sort of metabolic personality.
That's a great way to put it. It's not just one thing. It's a diverse group. And understanding the main players is really key to figuring out its impact on your body. So first up, let's talk glucose.
Okay.
Think of glucose as the body's primary, absolutely essential fuel source. It's the main thing powering your brain.
Right, keeping you sharp.
Yeah, keeping you thinking clearly, focused. It fuels every single one of your red blood cells. And your muscles rely on it too. It's like the universal energy currency in your body.
Got it. Readily available, quick to use. Then there's fructose, that's the fruit sugar, right? And honey.
Correct. And what's really interesting and often misunderstood about fructose is that it has a very unique metabolic pathway.
Okay, how so?
Well, unlike glucose, which pretty much all your cells can use for energy, fructose is primarily processed, metabolized in your liver.
So it takes a detour.
It takes a detour, mainly to the liver. It doesn't go straight into your bloodstream in the same way glucose does for immediate energy for all cells. And that has some pretty significant implications we'll definitely get into later.
Okay, good to know. The liver's the key player for fructose.
Precisely. And then there's the one we probably all think of when we just hear the word sugar.
Table sugar.
That's sucrose, your common table sugar, what you spoon into your coffee, what's in most baked goods.
Right.
And it's really important to understand that sucrose isn't just one type of sugar. It's actually what we call a disaccharide.
Meaning two sugars linked together.
Exactly. It's made up of two simpler sugars chemically bonded, 1 part glucose and 1 part fructose, a perfect 50.5 mix.
Ah, okay. So when you eat it, your body breaks it down into those two.
Instantly. Your digestive system quickly splits it into glucose and fructose, and then your body processes each one, just like we've described. Glucose goes everywhere. Fructose heads mostly to the liver.
Gotcha. And the last one, lactose.
Right, lactose. That's milk sugar. It's also a disaccharide, a combo glucose, and another simple sugar called galactose.
Okay.
So, when you look at a food label and it just says sugar, it could be any mix of these. And as we're finding out how your body handles them, well, it can be quite different.
That is such an important distinction. Sugar isn't a monolith at all. And that brings us right to this critical point. The source of the sugar. We hear sugar is sugar all the time, but you're saying the context where it comes from changes everything. How does that natural packaging really make a difference?
It makes a fundamental difference.
Yeah.
And this is where the nuance, truly lies. When we eat natural sugars, the kind that are inherently part of whole foods, like fruits, vegetables, even milk, they come bundled up.
Right, with other good stuff.
Exactly. They come wrapped in this really beneficial package. You get fiber, which is incredibly important for your gut health, and so much more. You get water. You get micronutrients like vitamins and minerals.
Okay.
And the impact of this natural packaging is profound. That fiber especially creates a sort of physical barrier. It significantly slows down how quickly that sugar gets absorbed into your bloodstream.
Like a cushion.
It's like a cushion. It prevents those really rapid, sharp blood sugar spikes that can be so disruptive. Think gentle wave versus a tsunami hitting your system.
Okay, that makes sense. So the natural stuff is buffered. What about the added sugars then?
Right. So contrast that with added sugars. These are the sugars that have been isolated. They've been stripped away from all those natural buffers.
Yeah.
They're often highly refined, basically pure isolated sugar molecules. Think high fructose corn syrup, granulated sugar, dextrose.
The stuff they add to food, not what's naturally in it.
Precisely. And because they lack that fiber, water, and nutrient matrix, there's nothing holding them back. They hit your bloodstream incredibly fast. It's almost like getting a direct IV drip of glucose.
Wow.
And that causes much sharper, more immediate blood sugar spikes. It's a jolt to your system, and it requires a much bigger insulin response to handle it.
Okay.
So the immediate takeaway for you, listening right now, is that the source of the sugar matters just as much, maybe even more, than the sheer amount. A gram of sugar from an apple is processed very, very differently by your body than a gram of sugar from a soda, simply because of that delivery system.
So that old saying, sugar is sugar, it's just too simplistic.
Way too simplistic. It's not just about the calories. It's about where that sugar comes from and how your body actually processes it. That difference can literally dictate whether it fuels your brain or, fattens your liver.
That distinction is huge. Okay, so we know the difference between natural and added sugars now. But what happens once any sugar actually gets into your body? Let's take a bite out of that process. Let's imagine biting into, say, that glazed donut you mentioned. What's going on behind the scenes, like the second you take that bite?
It's amazing. It's a super rapid chain reaction. Literally within seconds, your taste buds ping your brain. Immediate signal.
Hello, deliciousness.
Exactly. And that triggers a release of dopamine. Dopamine, that's the big one, the neurotransmitter for pleasure and reward. It's why that first bite often feels so good, and frankly, why we can get hooked on sugary things.
Right, the reward pathway.
But beyond just that initial sensory hit, the actual digestion starts almost instantly. Even while you're chewing, enzymes in your saliva, like amylase, are already starting to break down the carbohydrates in that donut. And then once it hits your small intestine, boom, more powerful enzymes jump in and rapidly break down those complex carbs into their simple sugar components, mostly glucose. It's a very efficient system, designed to get energy out quickly.
Okay, so the donut becomes simple sugars, mostly glucose. It's ready for the body's management system. How does that kick in? What happens next?
Right. This is where your body's really sophisticated system kicks in to manage that sugar influx. Once those carbs are broken down into simple sugars, mainly glucose, that glucose gets absorbed super quickly through the walls of your small intestine.
Straight into the bloodstream.
Straight into the bloodstream. And that, of course, leads to a swift, often pretty significant rise in your blood sugar levels. Depends on the food, obviously.
Okay.
Now, to handle that rise and keep things balanced, your pancreas, small organ, big job, springs into action. It releases a really critical hormone called insulin.
The famous insulin, the key, right?
You could absolutely think of insulin as a key, or maybe a hormone that opens doors in cells all over your body. Its main job is to signal your muscle cells, your fat cells, your liver cells, telling them, hey, there's glucose here, open up and take it in.
Got it. So insulin lets the sugar out of the blood and into the cells.
Exactly. And once inside the cells, that glucose can be used right away for immediate energy, fueling whatever you're doing, walking, thinking, even just keeping your body warm.
Okay.
Or if you don't need all that energy right now, your body wisely stores it for later. It stores it in the form of glycogen. Your liver and your muscles are your main glycogen tanks. They hold on to it, ready to release that stored energy when you need it, like during a burst of exercise or if you haven't eaten for a while.
Smart system. But what about when the tanks are full?
That's the crucial part.
Right.
And this is where excess really becomes a problem. When those glycogen tanks in your liver and muscles are full, meaning you've taken in more glucose than you can immediately use or store as glycogen. Any extra glucose still floating around in your bloodstream gets efficiently converted directly into fat.
Oh.
It's your body's backup storage for surplus energy. Very effective, but it can pile up quickly if you're constantly overfilling those tanks.
Okay, that makes sense. Extra glucose equals fat storage if the main tanks are full. But you said earlier that fructose is different. It doesn't follow that same path, right? It takes that detour to the liver. What's unique about its journey?
It's a completely different metabolic fingerprint, really, which is why it's so vital to understand. Instead of being broadly absorbed by all your cells like glucose, fructose makes a beeline primarily for your liver.
Okay.
Your liver is essentially the main processing plant for fructose. Now, some of it can be stored as glycogen in the liver, just like glucose, but the liver has a much more limited capacity for storing fructose compared to how it handles glucose.
Right, smaller tank for fructose in the liver.
Exactly. So if there's an excess of fructose coming in, especially from large amounts of added sugars, think high fructose corn syrup in drinks, or even excessive amounts of fruit juices where the fiber's gone out. Your liver often converts that excess fructose directly into a type of fat called triglycerides.
Triglycerides. And why is that a specific concern?
Because this conversion to triglycerides directly contributes to a condition we hear more and more about, fatty liver disease, specifically non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, or NAFLD.
Ah, okay. So that's the direct link.
It's a major link.
Yeah.
NAFLD is a growing global health issue, and understanding that fructose's unique metabolic pathway in the liver plays a significant role. Well, it's really important. So for you, the listener, understanding these different pathways helps you see why not all sugars are created equal in their impact. The source, the type of sugar, truly influences how your body handles it, and that can lead to vastly different outcomes fueling your brain versus potentially contributing to liver fat.
That really highlights why just counting sugar grams isn't the full story. The type matters enormously.
It absolutely does. The context, the type,
Yeah.
it's all crucial for your long-term health.
Okay, so after all this talk about excess sugar, fat storage, fatty liver, why do we even need it in the first place? You said it's essential, but why is that truly the case? Let's get back to the basics.
It's a fantastic question because the narrative around sugar often gets stuck on the negative side, doesn't it?
Totally. It feels like it's always bad news.
But the truth is, sugar, specifically glucose, is absolutely critical for life. Take your brain, for example. It's an incredibly hungry organ.
Needs a lot of fuel.
A ton.
Yeah.
It only makes up about 2% of your body weight, but it gobbles up around 120 grams of glucose every single day.
Wow, 120 grams just for the brain.
Just to keep it functioning optimally. Thinking, processing, regulating emotions, all your cognitive functions, and without enough glucose. Well, you don't just feel a little off.
No. What happens?
You can experience pretty significant symptoms. We're talking brain fog, that cloudy, sluggish feeling. Intense fatigue that coffee just doesn't touch. Even irritability, difficulty concentrating.
Yeah, I think we've all felt that hangry feeling.
Exactly. It's basically your brain signaling, hey, I'm running on empty down here. Feed me my primary fuel. So yes, sugar in the right form and amount is absolutely non-negotiable for your brain to work properly.
Okay, so brain power is a huge one. But it's not just about the brain then. There are other reasons our body requires glucose.
Oh, definitely. If we zoom out and look at the bigger picture, glucose plays several other vital roles. It's also the body's preferred source of rapid energy for your muscles.
Right, for exercise.
Especially during physical activity or exercise. When you're pushing yourself, sprinting, lifting weights, even just running around with kids, glucose is quickly available to fuel those muscle contractions. Get up and go fuel.
Okay. What else?
Another critical function is something called protein sparing.
Protein sparing? What's that?
It means that when your body has enough glucose available for energy, it doesn't need to resort to breaking down precious protein, which you need for building and repairing tissues, organs, making hormones, to convert it into fuel.
So having enough glucose protects your muscles and other important stuff?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Adequate glucose intake helps preserve your muscle mass and other vital protein structures. That's crucial for healthy aging, maintaining strength, overall vitality.
Makes sense.
And beyond just direct energy, glucose also plays a role, kind of indirectly, in maintaining overall hormonal balance within your body. It's part of a complex feedback loop that influences lots of other systems, thyroid, adrenals.
Okay. So the core message here, it sounds like it's really clear.
It is. The problem isn't sugar itself. It's not inherently evil. Your body absolutely needs it. The danger lies in the excess, the frequency we consume it, and the context. Remember, the added versus natural sugars, the time. So this means, for you listening, you absolutely do not need to eliminate sugar entirely. That's usually not sustainable anyway. It's about strategically managing the quantity, the timing, and the form. Be smart. Be informed. Don't just be scared or jump on some extreme diet.
That's actually a huge relief, I bet, for a lot of people. Okay, so we know why it's necessary. Let's flip the coin again. When does it tip over into being genuinely harmful? What does that feel like in the short term? That immediate impact. The crash. I always find that post-sugar crash is almost worse than the craving that led to it.
Oh, absolutely. It feels like your body is playing a cruel trick on you, doesn't it?
Totally.
And we've all been there. It's your body's dramatic response to getting overloaded. You have a big sugar hit, maybe a large soda, super sweet dessert, and you get that initial rush, right? That sharp spike in blood glucose.
Yeah, the temporary high.
You might feel a surge of energy, maybe a little lightheaded, sometimes even a bit jittery or buzzy. But what always follows is the sugar crash. This happens because your body, trying to deal with that massive sugar influx, often over-releases insulin. It clears the glucose from your bloodstream super fast, sometimes causing your blood sugar to drop below your ideal baseline. That's called reactive hypoglycemia.
And that feels awful.
It feels awful. That crash leaves you feeling completely drained, exhausted, often really irritable, maybe unfocused. And the irony, you start craving more sugar to try and get that energy back up.
It's a vicious cycle.
A totally vicious cycle. And honestly, evolution just didn't prepare our bodies for this daily bombardment of refined sugar that became common relatively recently.
That roller coaster sounds exhausting and definitely not something you want to ride every day. So that raises the big question. What happens if this does become a daily ride? A constant pattern? What are the long-term consequences of those repeated spikes and crashes?
Yeah, if that roller coaster becomes your daily commute, metabolically speaking, the long-term consequences are really quite significant, unfortunately. Those repeated, frequent blood sugar spikes are a primary driver, maybe the primary driver, of a serious condition called insulin resistance.
Okay, explain insulin resistance again, simply.
Remember insulin, the key that opens the cell doors for glucose. With insulin resistance, your cells start becoming less responsive to insulin signal. It's like the key is still turning, but the lock is getting rusty or gummed up. It takes more effort.
So the cells ignore the insulin.
They become less sensitive to it, yeah. Which means your pancreas has to pump out more and more insulin just to try and get the same amount of glucose into your cells. This leads to constantly high insulin levels in your blood hyperinsulinemia, even if your actual blood sugar levels aren't crazy high yet.
Okay, so the body's working overtime.
Exactly. And this progression, this state of insulin resistance, can lead to a whole cascade of conditions that affect pretty much every system in your body. Well, it often starts with prediabetes. That's where your blood sugar levels are elevated, but not quite high enough for a type 2 diabetes diagnosis.
The warning zone.
The definite warning zone. And if it's left unchecked, it can progress to full-blown type 2 diabetes, which is a chronic metabolic disorder. But it doesn't stop there.
Oh.
Insulin resistance and chronic sugar overload also contribute directly to high triglycerides, those unhealthy fats in your blood we talked about, which seriously increases your risk of heart disease. And as we've discussed with fructose, it's a major driver of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, NAFLD, where fat builds up in your liver.
Okay, so diabetes, heart risk, liver fat. What else?
Well, there are other harms too. High sugar diets literally feed the bacteria in your mouth that cause tooth decay, cavities, gum disease. It's often linked. And those big fructose loads we mentioned, they can really overwhelm the liver, pushing it to convert even more into fat. That's particularly insidious because NFLD often has zero symptoms in its early stages. You don't know what's happening. So this is why understanding your body's response to sugar isn't just about, avoiding the afternoon slump. It's absolutely critical for your long-term health. It's about preventing these chronic conditions that really impact your quality of life and ultimately your longevity.
Okay, it's crystal clear that excess sugar is harmful. But as you said, our bodies do need some. So that begs the million-dollar question. What's the sweet spot? How much is actually safe? Are there clear guidelines we can follow?
Absolutely. This is where we need some concrete targets, right?
For sure.
And thankfully, established health organizations provide them. The World Health Organization, the WHO, has clear recommendations based on tons of research, all aimed at reducing the risk of these chronic diseases we've been talking about.
Okay, what do they say?
Their primary guideline is to keep added sugars, remember, that's the sugars added during processing, not the natural ones in fruit or milk, below 10% of your total daily caloric intake.
10% of calories from added sugar, max.
Maximum. But they also offer an ideal guideline, suggesting that for even better health benefits, you should really aim to keep added sugars under 5% of your daily calories.
Okay, 5% is the ideal target.
Right. And these numbers aren't just pulled out of thin air. They're specifically linked to reducing risks like dental cavities and, more broadly, those big diet-related non-communicable diseases, diabetes, heart disease, etc.
So for us listening, how does that translate into actual grams or teaspoons? Because percentages can be a bit abstract.
Yeah, let's make it concrete. Let's take a standard 2,000-calorie diet, which is often used as a benchmark, that 10% maximum. That translates to about 50 grams of added sugar per day.
50 grams, how much is that visually?
Visualize it as roughly 12 teaspoons of sugar. Now, think about a single can of regular soda.
Oh yeah, those can have like 30, 40 grams easily.
Exactly. Often 8 to 10 teaspoons right there. So you can see how incredibly easy it is to blow past that 50-gram limit without even realizing it.
Wow. Okay, and the ideal 5% limit?
If you're aiming for that ideal target of under 5% on a 2,000-calorie diet, that drops down to about 25 grams of added sugar per day.
25 grams? That's only about 6 teaspoons.
Only 6 teaspoons. That's a much tighter target, and it really makes you aware of where hidden sugars are lurking in processed foods.
Definitely. Now, you keep emphasizing added sugars. Let's clarify again the natural sugars in fruit and milk. They don't count towards these limits.
That's a crucial clarification. These WHO limits specifically apply to added sugars, the natural sugars found inherently within whole fruits, vegetables, and unsweetened dairy. They are not included in these limits.
And why not? Refresh our memory.
Because, like we discussed earlier, they come packaged with fiber, water, vitamins, minerals, all those beneficial components that slow down absorption and provide other health benefits. Your body handles them differently.
Okay. But there's a caveat, right? Even with natural sugars.
Yes, there's a caveat. Even with natural sugars, portion control still matters.
Yeah.
Especially if you are someone who is actively watching your blood sugar levels. Maybe if you have prediabetes, diabetes, or insulin resistance.
Right.
A whole apple is fantastic. But sitting down and eating, say, 5 large bananas in one go, even though it's natural sugar, that might still cause a significant blood sugar spike for some individuals. Context still matters.
Got it. Moderation even with the good stuff.
Exactly. So for you, the listener, a really fantastic starting point is just to begin checking food labels specifically for added sugars. Get familiar with that line item. And then try to aim to stay within those WHO guidelines, ideally under that 6 teaspoon, 25 gram mark. It takes a little awareness at first, but it's incredibly empowering once you start spotting those hidden sources.
That's a very clear target, very actionable. Okay, so we know how much, but earlier you hinted it's not just about the amount. It's also about when you eat sugar and with what. Let's dig into that timing and context idea, because that sounds like it could be a real game changer.
You've hit on such a critical point. Context really, truly is everything when it comes to how your body processes sugar. And yes, there are definitely times when consuming sugar is far less harmful. Times when your body is actually much better equipped to handle it efficiently and put it straight to good use.
Okay, like when?
One of the absolute best times to have some sugar, specifically glucose-rich carbs, is immediately after exercise.
Ah, the post-workout window.
Exactly. Think of your muscles after a workout like thirsty sponges. They are primed, super sensitive to insulin, and ready to suck up glucose incredibly efficiently to replenish their energy stores, their glycogen tanks.
So the sugar goes right into the muscles for repair and refueling.
Pretty much. It gets pulled out of your bloodstream quickly and put to good use for recovery and muscle repair. So a small amount of easily digestible carbs, maybe even with a little protein right after a workout, can actually be beneficial. It helps your body refuel effectively.
Okay, post-exercise is good. What about eating sugar with other things? Does that help buffer the impact?
Yes, absolutely. That's another key strategy. Consume sugar with buffers.
Buffers? What do you mean by buffers?
I mean protein, healthy fats, and fiber. When you combine carbohydrates, especially sugary or starchy ones, with these other macronutrients, they actively slow down the absorption of sugar into your bloodstream.
How does that work?
Think of it like adding speed bumps on the sugar highway. Protein and fat both slow down gastric emptying, meaning the food stays in your stomach longer before moving into the small intestine where sugar is absorbed. And fiber, well, fiber physically gets in the way, creating a kind of mesh that slows down glucose absorption in the small intestine.
So it smooths out the spike.
It results in a much gentler, slower rise in blood sugar. You avoid those sharp, potentially damaging spikes. So, for example, instead of eating just a piece of fruit on its own, maybe have it with a handful of almonds or a spoonful of peanut butter.
Okay, adding fat and protein.
Right. Or if you're going to have a small dessert, it's much better to have it after a balanced meal that already contains plenty of protein, fiber, and maybe some healthy fats, rather than having that dessert on an empty stomach. That meal acts as a buffer. This strategy can significantly mitigate the sugar's impact.
That's really practical. Okay, so conversely, there must be times when sugar hits your system the hardest, when it causes the most disruption. When should we be most mindful?
Oh, definitely. There are times when sugar can really whack your system hard. Eating sugar, especially refined sugar, on an empty stomach is probably one of the worst culprits.
Why is that?
Because there's absolutely nothing else in your digestive system to slow down its entry. It just rushes straight into your bloodstream. That leads to those really fast, dramatic spikes, and then the inevitable rapid crashes we talked about earlier. It just leaves you feeling worse very quickly.
Okay, avoid sugar on an empty stomach. What else?
Another time to be really cautious is late at night. Think about it. Your body's energy demand is generally pretty low when you're winding down, preparing for sleep.
Right, you're not about to run a marathon.
Exactly. So consuming a lot of sugar at this time means that much more of it is likely to be converted and stored as fat rather than being burned for immediate energy. It can contribute to weight gain, potentially disrupt sleep quality, and put extra strain on your liver overnight.
Okay, late night sugar is generally not a great idea.
Generally not ideal. And perhaps one of the biggest offenders, something many people really underestimate, is sugar consumed in liquid form.
Ah, the sodas and juices again?
Yes. Sodas, fruit juices, even 100% juice, because remember, it lacks the fiber of the whole fruit. Sweetened coffees, many energy drinks. These bypass almost all the normal digestive processes that slow down solid foods.
Why is liquid sugar so much worse?
Because there's no fiber, no fat, no protein matrix to act as a buffer. The sugar just mainlines directly into your bloodstream. It causes an extremely rapid, often very high blood sugar spike. Your body gets slammed with a huge load of sugar all at once, triggering a massive insulin surge. This is why many experts consider liquid sugar to be particularly detrimental to metabolic health, maybe even more so than equivalent amounts of sugar in solid food.
Okay, that's a really strong warning about sugary drinks.
It really is. So for you listening, this is all super actionable advice. Think about your activities. Are you about to exercise? Think about what else you're eating. Are you having sugar with protein and fiber? For instance, if you're going to enjoy a dessert, having it after a balanced, fiber-rich meal is almost always a better choice than grabbing that same dessert as a quick, standalone snack between meals. You've already laid the groundwork with the meal to slow things down.
That context piece really is a game changer. Okay, so armed with all this knowledge about timing, pairing, and liquid sugar, what are the foods that consistently send our blood sugar soaring? The usual suspects, maybe some surprises. What should we be most mindful of on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, let's name some names. And thanks to all the data coming from continuous glucose monitors, these CGM studies, we have a very clear picture now of the common culprits for those really sharp blood sugar spikes.
Okay, lay 'em on us.
Often high on the list are things like white bread and bagels. They're highly refined carbs, very little fiber. They just break down into glucose super fast.
Right.
Refined breakfast cereals, especially the ones marketed to kids, are another major spike inducer. They often masquerade as a healthy start, but can be loaded with sugar and refined grains.
Sneaky.
Very sneaky. And as we just hammered home, sugary drinks and energy drinks are almost guaranteed to send your glucose levels through the roof because of that liquid form, no buffers.
Got it. What else?
Other foods that frequently cause big spikes include white rice, similar to white bread, very refined, pastries, donuts, cakes. These are probably less surprising, usually high in both refined carbs and added sugar.
The obvious ones.
The obvious ones. But also, you might be surprised by many sweetened yogurts. You got to read the labels. Some have an incredible amount of added sugar, turning a potentially healthy food into a sugar bomb.
Wow, even yogurt.
French fries and other fried potatoes. While we might think of them as fat, they're also starchy carbs that break down rapidly into glucose, especially when processed like that. Even things like instant noodles can be a major culprit due to their highly refined flour.
Instant noodles? Really? Okay.
And of course, candy and high-sugar chocolate bars are consistently on that list. So the pattern becomes pretty clear, right? Highly processed, refined carbohydrates, especially when they're low in fiber and eaten without much protein or fat, are the primary drivers of these undesirable, rapid sugar spikes.
Okay, that's an incredibly helpful list for identifying potential trouble spots in our own diets, but I don't want people to feel like they have to give up everything. For every one of these spike foods, there must be practical modifications, right? Smart swaps or adjustments we can make today to blunt the impact without total deprivation.
Exactly. This isn't about creating a never-eat list. It's about being strategic and making smart adjustments. For pretty much every spike food, there are practical modifications you can make to lessen its impact.
Okay, give us some strategies.
One of the most powerful strategies, as we've touched on, is pairing. If you're going to eat a carbohydrate-rich food, always try to pair it with protein, healthy fats, and fiber.
Examples?
Okay, so if you love toast, instead of just jam or butter, smash some avocado on it, maybe add an egg. You get healthy fats, fiber, protein. If you're having cereal, choose a high-fiber one and add nuts, seeds, maybe some berries.
Okay, boosting the fiber, fat, and protein.
Right. Even simple things like adding a scoop of protein powder or some chia seeds to your morning smoothie can completely change its glucose response. That pairing strategy is huge. It slows down digestion, smooths out the curves.
Smart. What else besides pairing?
Another really simple but effective modification is just plain old portion control. You don't always have to eliminate a food you enjoy. Sometimes just eating less of it makes a significant difference in the size of the blood sugar spike.
Right, have a smaller bowl of pasta, maybe?
Exactly. If you love pasta, instead of a giant bowl, have a smaller portion, but load up the plate with lean protein like chicken or fish, and lots of non-starchy vegetables. You still get the pasta fix, but the overall impact is much lower.
Makes sense. Any other tricks?
Yes. One that often surprises people with how effective it is. Post-meal activity. Just getting up and moving after a meal, especially one higher in carbs, can dramatically help.
Like going for a walk.
Doesn't have to be a marathon. Even a short walk, like 10 to 15 minutes right after eating, helps your muscles start pulling that glucose out of your bloodstream to use for energy. It can significantly blunt the peak of the blood sugar spike.
Wow, just a quick walk.
Just a quick walk.
Yeah.
So yeah, for you listening, these are immediate, tangible ways to adjust. Pairing, portion control, post-meal movement. You can manage things without completely eliminating foods you enjoy. It's about being strategic.
That's incredibly practical. Solutions, not just problems.
Okay, shifting gears slightly. Most of us know smoking is terrible. Lungs, heart, cancer risk.
Yeah.
We get it. But here's where it connects directly to our deep dive on sugar, in a way that I think is often overlooked and might genuinely surprise people. There's a significant link, isn't there?
There is, and it's a critical piece of this puzzle that doesn't get talked about nearly enough. It's another really powerful reason for anyone who smokes to seriously consider quitting, specifically for their metabolic health.
Okay, what's the connection?
Smoking actually raises your risk of developing type 2 diabetes by a lot. We're talking a significant 30 to 40% increase.
30 to 40% higher risk. Wow.
It's huge. And it's not just some vague indirect effect on general health. The nicotine in cigarettes directly impairs insulin sensitivity.
Directly. How?
It makes it harder for your cells, your muscles, your fat, your liver to respond properly to insulin signal. Remember the key and lock analogy? Nicotine basically gums up the lock. It makes your cells resistant to insulin. So your body has to work harder, produce more insulin.
Exactly. It contributes directly to insulin resistance, putting more strain on your pancreas and messing up your blood sugar control.
And is it just active smoking? What about secondhand smoke?
That's another disturbing part. Studies have shown that even passive smoke exposure, just being around smokers regularly, has been linked to a higher risk of developing diabetes. It shows just how pervasive and harmful those effects are on metabolism, even if you're not the one lighting up.
That's really concerning. Is there any good news here? Like if someone quits?
Yes, there absolutely is good news, and this is really important to emphasize. Quitting smoking can lead to noticeable improvements in glucose control, often within a matter of weeks.
Weeks? That fast?
Often, yes. The body is remarkably resilient. Many of those metabolic disruptions caused by nicotine can start to reverse pretty quickly once it's out of your system. So if you smoke, this is yet another compelling health-driving reason to quit. It directly impacts your sugar management and your overall metabolic health in a very positive way.
That's a truly powerful connection and definitely one more reason to kick the habit. Okay, so we've covered what sugar is, what it does, the good, the bad, the timing. But how can we as individuals really track and understand our own unique personal response to sugar? This is where modern tech comes in, right? Continuous glucose monitor, CGMs. What are these cells exactly, and how do they work?
This is where things get really exciting and personalized. CGMs are incredible little devices. You might have seen brands like Dexcom G7 or Freestyle Libre. They're typically small sensors you wear, usually on the back of your upper arm.
Okay.
These sensors have a tiny flexible filament that sits just under your skin, and it measures the glucose levels in the fluid between your cells, the interstitial fluid, every few minutes, 204/7. Continuously. And then that data gets wirelessly transmitted either to your smartphone, a dedicated reader device, or sometimes even your smartwatch. So you get this real-time, continuous graph of your blood sugar levels throughout the entire day and night.
It's like having a constant window into your metabolism.
Exactly. It completely replaces the guesswork of just doing occasional finger pricks. You see the whole movie, not just snapshots.
So you mentioned this is like a personalized research project. How would someone use a CGM to learn about themselves? What can you actually find out?
Oh, it's fantastic for self-discovery. I often recommend people, even those without diagnosed diabetes, consider wearing one for maybe 2 to 4 weeks. It can reveal such invaluable, highly personalized insights that you just cannot get from traditional blood tests alone.
Like what specifically?
Well, first, you'll see your baseline fasting glucose patterns. Is it stable overnight? Does it rise before you wake up? Then, crucially, you'll see your post-meal glucose responses. You will see precisely which foods cause your biggest blood sugar spikes.
My specific spikes.
Your specific spikes. You might be genuinely surprised. Maybe that healthy bowl of oatmeal sends your sugar higher than a slice of sourdough bread with avocado. Or maybe white rice is fine for you, but potatoes send you soaring. It's incredibly individual.
Wow. So it's not just about the food itself.
Not entirely. And beyond food, you'll also gain amazing insight into how other lifestyle factors affect your sugar levels. How does a stressful day impact you? What does a poor night's sleep do to your baseline glucose the next morning? How much does that 15-minute walk after dinner actually lower your spike? You see it all.
That level of personalization sounds incredible.
It is, and it backs up what major research has found. There was a really significant study published in the journal Cell back in 2018, a landmark paper. It found huge individual differences in people's glucose responses to the exact same foods.
So my response to, say, a banana would be totally different from yours.
Completely different, even if we eat the exact same banana. This is why generic dietary advice, while often well-intentioned, frequently falls short. We are all metabolically unique. Our gut microbiome, our genetics, our lifestyle factors all play a role.
So CGMs really shift it from guesswork to personal science.
Totally. They give you unprecedented, actionable data about your unique body. It's incredibly empowering. You stop following generic rules and start understanding your own biology.
Okay, CGMs sound amazing for that real-time personalized data, seeing the daily fluctuations. But while they offer those incredible insights, you mentioned traditional lab tests are still essential, right? For the complete picture. Think of these as the big picture health checks.
Exactly. CGMs show you the dynamic movie, but these lab tests provide the critical still photos, the benchmarks. They give you a more comprehensive view of your metabolic health over time and can catch underlying issues that might not be immediately obvious just from looking at daily CGM squiggles.
Okay, so what are the key lab tests we should be aware of, and what do they tell us?
All right, first up is the standard fasting blood glucose test. This measures your blood sugar level after you've fasted overnight, usually for 8 to 12 hours.
What does that show?
It gives you a snapshot of your baseline glucose control. How well does your body manage sugar when there's no recent food coming in? Ideally, you want this to be under 100 milligrams per deciliter, mgdl.
Okay, under 100 for fasting glucose. What's next?
Then there's the HbA1c, or glycated hemoglobin test. This is arguably one of the most important tests for assessing long-term sugar control.
Why is that?
Because it gives you an average of your blood sugar levels over the previous 2 to 3 months. It measures the percentage of your hemoglobin, the protein in red blood cells that has become coated with sugar. It's a fantastic indicator of your overall long-term glucose exposure.
And what's a good HbA1c level?
Optimal levels are generally considered to be under 5.7%. Levels between 5.7% and 6.4% usually indicate prediabetes, and 6.5% or higher typically means diabetes.
Okay, under 5.7% for HbA1c. What if those initial tests raise some flags, or a doctor wants a more dynamic picture of how your body handles sugar?
That's often when an oral glucose tolerance test, OGTT, comes in. This test measures how effectively your body processes a specific sugar load over a couple hours.
How does it work?
You drink a standardized, very sweet glucose solution, usually 75 grams after fasting. Then your blood sugar is measured before you drink it, and typically again at 1 hour and 2 hours afterwards.
What's the purpose?
Its main purpose is to detect impaired glucose tolerance.
Sure.
Basically, how well does your body clear that sugar load? It can reveal prediabetes or even early-stage diabetes that might not show up clearly on just a fasting glucose test.
Gotcha. Are there tests that look at insulin itself?
Yes, and this is a really valuable one. Fasting insulin. This measures the actual amount of insulin circulating in your blood after an overnight fast.
Why measure insulin directly?
Because high fasting insulin levels can be a very strong early indicator of insulin resistance. Often, your insulin levels will start to creep up before your blood glucose levels become consistently elevated. So it can be a proactive warning sign that your body is already working too hard to manage sugar, even if your glucose looks okay on paper.
That sounds really useful for early detection. What else should be on the radar?
It's also often wise to check liver enzymes like ALT and AST and potentially consider an ultrasound of your liver. Why? To check for signs of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, NAFLD. As we've discussed, NAFLD is very closely linked to chronic sugar overload, especially fructose and insulin resistance.
Right, checking for that silent liver fat buildup.
Exactly. And finally, a standard lipid panel. This measures your cholesterol levels, but importantly for our discussion, it also measures your triglycerides.
And triglycerides are linked to sugar.
Very strongly. High triglycerides are a classic marker of dietary sugar overload, particularly from fructose, and they're a key component of metabolic syndrome and insulin resistance. Often, high triglycerides are one of the first lipid abnormalities to show up when someone's consuming too much added sugar.
Wow.
So putting it all together, fasting glucose, HbA1c, maybe an OGTT or fasting insulin, checking liver health, and looking at your lipid panel, especially triglycerides. These tests, especially when combined with insights from a CGM experiment, give you a really comprehensive 360-degree view of your metabolic health related to sugar. They let you see the full picture and track your progress over time.
Okay, so we've covered understanding sugar, how it works, how to monitor it with CGMs, and the key lab tests. Now, let's shift focus to a medication that comes up constantly in discussions about sugar management, and increasingly even about longevity, metformin. It's widely known as the first-line drug for type 2 diabetes, but there's a lot more chatter about it now, isn't there?
There absolutely is. Metformin has a really long and well-established track record, decades of use, and its mechanisms of action are quite fascinating.
How does it actually work?
It works primarily through two main pathways. First, it reduces the amount of glucose your liver produces and releases into the bloodstream. Your liver makes glucose even when you're fasting, so metformin helps dial that down.
Okay, less glucose production from the liver. What's the second way?
Second, and perhaps more importantly for many, it improves your body's sensitivity to insulin. Remember how insulin resistance makes your cells less responsive. Metformin helps make those cells, particularly muscle cells, more sensitive to insulin again. It helps the key work better in the lock, allowing glucose to enter cells more easily and reducing the strain on your pancreas.
So it tackles both the supply and the uptake of glucose.
Exactly. And its effectiveness isn't just theoretical. It's been proven in major long-term clinical trials. The landmark UK Prospective Diabetes Study, the UK-PDS trial, showed that metformin significantly lowered the rates of diabetes complications like heart attacks and strokes, and actually improved survival rates in overweight individuals with type 2 diabetes.
Impressive results. What about preventing diabetes?
That's where the Diabetes Prevention Program, or DPP trial, comes in. This was another huge study. It found that metformin reduced the risk of developing full-blown type 2 diabetes by 31% in people who already had prediabetes, that intermediate stage of high blood sugar.
A 31% reduction is pretty significant.
It is. But it's really important to note a crucial comparison from that same DPP trial.
Oh, what was that?
In the same study, the group assigned to intensive lifestyle changes focused on diet improvements and regular exercise reduced their risk of developing diabetes by an even greater 58%.
Wow, 58% with lifestyle versus 31% with metformin.
Exactly. It really underscores the incredible power of lifestyle interventions. While metformin is clearly effective, fundamental changes to diet and activity can be even more potent for prevention in many people.
That comparison is incredibly compelling. It really puts the power back in the hands of the individual with lifestyle choices. But okay, beyond its established role in diabetes and prediabetes, there's all this buzz now about metformin's potential for, well, for more, specifically in the realm of anti-aging and longevity. What's driving that excitement?
Yeah, it's a really intriguing area of research that has definitely captured a lot of attention, both in the scientific community and in popular media. There's growing interest in metformin's potential anti-aging effects.
Where did that idea come from?
It partly stems from some large observational studies, particularly looking at people with diabetes. Some of these studies suggested, paradoxically perhaps, that diabetic individuals taking metformin might actually live longer, on average, than non-diabetic individuals not taking metformin.
Really? Longer than healthy people?
That's what some of the data suggested, which obviously sparked immense interest. Could metformin be doing something beyond just controlling blood sugar? Could it be influencing fundamental aging processes?
So are there trials looking into this specifically?
Yes. There's a very ambitious trial that's been planned and is trying to get fully underway called the TAME trial, T-A-M-E, which stands for Targeting Aging with Metformin.
Targeting aging with metformin, what's its goal?
Its goal is groundbreaking: to directly test if metformin can delay the onset of multiple major age-related diseases, things like heart disease, cancer, cognitive decline in non-diabetic older adults. Essentially, they want to see if it can extend health span, the period of healthy life, not just lifespan.
That sounds revolutionary if it works. But where do things stand now?
Well, it's really important to emphasize that results from large-scale human longevity trials like TAME are not yet available. These studies are incredibly complex, expensive, and take many, many years to complete. And crucially, there is absolutely no current medical approval anywhere for metformin to be used specifically for longevity or anti-aging purposes outside of a formal research setting.
Okay, so the longevity potential is still very much theoretical for humans. What are the critical cautions then for someone thinking about this, maybe even someone healthy?
That's the critical point to underscore. Metformin is a powerful medication, and like any powerful medication, it comes with potential side effects and important considerations. It's not a vitamin.
What are some of the main ones?
For one, it can, over long-term use, lower vitamin B12 levels in some people. B12 is vital for nerve function and making red blood cells, so monitoring and potential supplementation might be needed.
Okay, B12 deficiency risk.
Also, it's generally not suitable for individuals with significant kidney problems. Specifically, if your kidney filtering function, measured by something called eGFR, is quite low, usually below 30, metformin can potentially build up in the body and cause a rare but serious side effect called lactic acidosis. So kidney function needs to be checked.
Right, not for severe kidney disease.
And crucially, and this is really important for the anti-aging discussion, healthy people should absolutely not be taking metformin without strict medical supervision and a clear established medical reason, like diagnosed prediabetes or diabetes.
Why not, if it might help with aging?
Because it's not without downsides, even for healthy folks. For instance, there's growing evidence suggesting that metformin can actually blunt some of the beneficial adaptations to exercise, particularly muscle gains from resistance training.
It interferes with workout benefits.
It appears it might, which is obviously a major concern if your goal is healthy aging, where maintaining muscle mass and strength is absolutely paramount.
That's a huge caveat for the fitness-focused crowd.
It really is. So the listener takeaway here needs to be crystal clear. If you have prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, definitely have an open conversation with your doctor about metformin. Discuss the pros and cons for your specific situation. But if you're generally healthy, please understand its current limitations, the lack of definitive human longevity data, and these potential side effects like B12 issues and blunting exercise gains, before even thinking about it for off-label anti-aging use. It's a serious medication that requires thoughtful medical guidance. Never self-prescribe.
Okay, that's a very important and balanced perspective on metformin. Right, so we have taken this really deep dive, haven't we? We've explored sugar from pretty much every angle: what it is, what it does in the body, how to measure our response with CGMs in labs, the timing, the context, even a key medication. So what does all this incredibly detailed information mean for you, the listener? How can you actually apply this knowledge starting today? Let's pull it all together into your step-by-step Sugar Smart Action Plan, a practical, actionable strategy.
Yes. Let's translate all this science into concrete steps.
Yeah.
This is all about empowering you, giving you the tools to truly master your relationship with sugar for better health, energy, and longevity. Okay, step 1, test your baseline. Get those essential lab tests done. Go see your doctor and ask for fasting glucose, HbA1c, that crucial 3-month average, and a full lipid panel. paying close attention to those triglycerides.
Get the starting numbers.
Get your starting numbers. And for an even earlier look at potential insulin resistance, seriously consider adding a fasting insulin test to that panel if possible. This gives you your objective starting point. Know where you stand.
Okay, baseline tests first. What's step 2?
Step 2. Run a CGM experiment. We've talked a lot about this. Seriously, consider wearing a continuous glucose monitor, even just for 2 to 4 weeks. Think of it as your personal metabolism decoder.
What's the main goal here?
The purpose is to discover your unique personal spike patterns. Find out precisely which foods and which combinations and how different activities like exercise, sleep, or even stress affect your individual blood sugar levels in real time. This personalized data is invaluable. It cuts through all the generic advice and gives you answers tailored specifically for your body.
Personal science. Got it. Step 3.
Step 3. Cut liquid sugars, reduce high GI foods, and master pairing. This is often the quickest win with the biggest impact. First, actively eliminate or drastically reduce daily sugary drinks, sodas, sweetened teas, fruit juices, energy drinks. They are just rapid-fire sugar bombs.
Get rid of the liquid sugar first.
Yes. Then actively reduce your intake of high glycemic index, highly refined foods, things like white bread, sugary cereals, pastries, lots of processed snacks. And critically, whenever you do eat carbohydrates, make it a habit to consistently pair them with protein, healthy fats, and fiber. Remember the buffers.
The pairing strategy. Always add buffers.
Always add buffers. This is your number one tactic to slow down sugar absorption, blunt those spikes, and make every meal work metabolically harder for you, not against you.
Excellent. Step 4.
Step 4, time. Sugar around activity. Be strategic about when you consume carbs or sugar. Try to have them when your body is most primed to use them effectively for energy. The best example. Right after a workout, when your muscles are like sponges, ready to soak up glucose for recovery.
Use it when you need it.
Use it when you need it. And conversely, try to avoid large amounts of sugar, especially refined sugar, late at night or right before bed when your body's energy demand is low and it's much more likely to just get stored as fat, putting unnecessary strain on your system while you sleep.
Okay, smart timing. Step 5.
Step 5. Quit smoking. We just talked about this. If you smoke, quitting is one of the most direct and significant steps you can possibly take to improve your insulin sensitivity almost immediately and drastically lower your risk of type 2 diabetes. The metabolic benefits are profound and start quickly. It's huge.
A non-negotiable for metabolic health if you smoke. Okay, step 6.
Step 6. Discuss metformin, if applicable. This isn't for everyone. But if you have diagnosed prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, have an open, informed conversation with your doctor. Discuss whether metformin is an appropriate part of your specific treatment plan, weighing the benefits against potential side effects for you. Remember, it's a powerful tool, but one that needs to be used under proper medical guidance.
Right, a conversation with your doctor if it applies to you. And the final step.
And finally, step 7. Retest regularly. Don't just do the baseline tests once and forget about it. Health is dynamic. Schedule follow-up testing of your key lab markers, HbA1c, fasting glucose, lipids, maybe fasting insulin every 6 to 12 months, or whatever your doctor recommends based on your results.
Why is retesting so important?
Because it allows you to track your progress objectively.
Yeah.
You can see how your new strategies, the pairing, the timing, cutting liquid sugar, are actually working based on real data. It helps you stay motivated, and it allows you and your doctor to adjust your plan as needed over time. This whole comprehensive plan gives you the tools. Monitor, understand, and then strategically adjust. It puts you firmly in the driver's seat for significant, lasting health benefits.
That is a fantastic, clear, actionable plan. Okay, we have gone on quite the journey today, haven't we? A real deep dive into sugar. And I think what we've really learned, the powerful truth, is that maybe sugar itself isn't the ultimate villain here. Maybe ignorance is.
Well said.
Your body absolutely needs glucose to survive, right? To power your brain, your muscles. It's essential. But man, in our modern food environment, it is just incredibly easy to completely overwhelm the system. And that leads down the path to that whole cascade of negative health consequences we talked about.
It's easy to overload, yeah.
But here's the exciting part, the empowering part. You now have the knowledge and the tools to actually take control. We've explored the incredible power of CGMs for those personalized insights, the importance of targeted lab testing for the big picture view, and the real-world effectiveness of these smart, strategic lifestyle adjustments. The pairing, the timing, the movement. You really do now have the power to master sugar instead of letting it master you.
Absolutely. And if you're listening right now and maybe feeling a little overwhelmed, wondering where on earth to start, let me give you 3 high-impact changes. 3 things you could focus on this week to begin mastering sugar for your health.
Okay, the top 3 takeaways for immediate action. What are they?
First, cut the liquid sugars. Seriously. Sodas, juices, sweetened coffees. This is often the easiest change to make and arguably yields the biggest bang for your buck metabolically. Just eliminating that major source of rapid, unbuffered sugar can make a huge difference very quickly.
Okay, number 1, ditch the sugary drinks.
Number 2, always pair your carbs with protein and fiber. Make this your mantra. Whether it's adding nuts to your oatmeal, chicken to your pasta, or avocado to your toast, this simple strategy immediately starts blunting those blood sugar spikes. Plus, it helps you feel fuller and more satisfied, which can reduce cravings later.
Number 2, pair everything. Add buffers.
And number 3, if it's accessible to you, seriously consider using a CGM, even just for a short period, like 2 to 4 weeks. The personalized insight it provides is truly invaluable. It changes everything from guesswork and following generic rules into a precise personal science tailored specifically for your body. It's an incredible investment in understanding your unique biology.
Number 3, get personal data with a CGM experiment. Cut liquid sugar, pair your carbs, use a CGM. Excellent starting points.
Those 3 things can kickstart massive positive changes.
So as we wrap up, what does all of this really mean for you listening right now? Think about this. You absolutely can keep sweetness in your life. This isn't about deprivation. It's about staying in control. Use sugar strategically when your body can actually put it to good work, like for energy and recovery after you've been active. Actively avoid loading up on it when it's likely to just be stored as fat, causing unnecessary metabolic stress, like late at night or on an empty stomach. And never, ever underestimate how much your personal data, whether it's from a CGM experiment or your regular lab tests, can teach you about your unique body and its specific needs and responses. Forget the generic advice and start listening to your own biology. So the final thought is, what will you discover about your relationship with sugar?